Well, good afternoon. I want to thank you very much for being with me on my daily dose. As far as my health goes, many of you probably already realized on Tuesday and then early hours of Wednesday morning, I had a sleep study done wherein the doctors found out I have sleep apnea. Now, that's something I was not really familiar with. Of course, I know about it. It's common today. But nonetheless, they found out I had that. And basically, my symptoms were this: I was tired. Pre-transplant, you assume, being in stage 4 heart failure, you're going to be tired all the time. You're going to have to take naps during the day, and that was my life then. But even post-transplant, I found myself having more energy, more stamina, more get up and go, if you will. But at the end of the day, I still needed that evening nap. I thought that might be just part of habit. I wasn't sure. But the doctors discovered I had the sleep apnea. So what basically comes down to, I'm seemingly sleeping all night, but I'm not getting the rest I need. I'm not getting the oxygen to recover those sales and such, and so I needed some assistance. And so on yesterday, which was Thursday, just a couple of days later, it was approved by my insurance company that I could get a CPAP machine. And I slept with that last night for the first time. And to basically describe it in only a couple of words, it was life-changing. I tell you what, I feel better today than I felt in several months, probably at least. And so I'm glad to be able to have that. I'm glad the technologies are what they are. And I pray that that will continue to help me. I know many I've spoken to about it and about sleep apnea and such. They say that once you get one of those machines, a CPAP, and you get on it, that you'll love it. You'll not want to sleep without it because it definitely will and can at least improve your sleep. So I pray that that'll be the case. Now, in addition to that, before we move into more spiritual things, I want to offer you a couple of prayer requests. I want you to continue daily to pray for Emma Mitchell, for example. She had to go back to the doctor today, and of course it was to remove a stitch that had been left behind, my understanding. And so with that being grown in a little bit more, that's going to be a little bit tougher, especially on a child, to get that stitch out. And so pray for her. Of course, that's minor compared to her other problems, but her fight is a fight of daily things. And so let's continue to pray for Emma Mitchell. And also want to offer a special request that you'll pray for a good friend of mine, Miss Teresa Beard. And of course, she watches this program daily, so I know she's hearing me say this, but please pray for Miss Teresa. She's going through some difficult times right now, some struggles and such, and she needs our prayers. She's a good friend, has always been dedicated to me since we met. She's a member of the Church of Christ, and I've been privileged on several occasions to preach where she attends, and it's a wonderful place, the Blessing Church of Christ, just north of us. And so pray for her. Pray for her and her family and whomever be involved. And by the way, pray for everybody that you know who's struggling at this time. Now, with that said, I want to encourage you this weekend, especially, to encourage someone else. You know, oftentimes we spend much of our time, if we're not careful, and it's not right to do, but we spend much of our time tearing one another down or looking for fault or such as that in someone else. And we shouldn't be that way. The Bible tells us in the book of Hebrews that we ought to encourage one another while today is called today. You say, now, wait a minute, preacher, I don't find the word encourage there. Well, that's right. You find in the King James translation, at least, the word exhort. And that's just what that means. To lift up, to encourage, to, if you will, to raise on high. That's what we ought to do. Now, you can do that certainly with the scriptures, and that's primarily the way that we should. We should encourage one another through the use of the scriptures. But friends, also a kind word and a kind deed can go so far. And so I want to encourage you this weekend to find someone who's in need. Find someone who's hurting. Find someone who needs your help. Find someone who could use just a hug or a pat on the back and give that to them. Because I'll tell you this, I've learned throughout my time, especially in doing this program, you would be surprised at those who are hurting today, who are likely not getting a lot of encouragement. They're not getting encouragement from their families that they need, from their friends, such as that. And sometimes they're not even getting enough encouragement from members of their own church. And so I pray that we, especially as Christians, members of the Lord's church, that we'll spend our time encouraging. It's a command of God. And this has been your daily dose. And I pray that as you do that, you'll likewise be encouraged. My heart.